Summary Overview, Chapter 15, Emerging from the Earth, Section 1, Paragraphs 1 to 33. Bodhisattvas Mahasattvas from the other lands ask Shakyamuni Buddha to accord them the permission to spread the Lotus Sutra. However, Shakyamuni Buddha remains silent, not conceding to the request. Instead, he summons forth millions of billions of bodhisattvas, who emerge from the earth in response to the voice of the Buddha. The four leaders among the bodhisattvas of the earth were called Superior Actions, Boundless Actions, Pure Actions, and Steadfast Actions. To resolve his doubts, Bodhisattva Maitreya asks Shakyamuni Buddha about the appearance of billions of bodhisattvas from the earth. Key messages. The four bodhisattvas of the earth represent the four virtues of a Buddha. 1. Bodhisattva Superior Actions represents the virtue of true self. 2. Bodhisattva Boundless Actions represents the virtue of eternity. 3. Bodhisattva Pure Actions represents the virtue of purity, and 4. Bodhisattva Steadfast Actions represents the virtue of happiness. At that time, Bodhisattvas Mahasattvas numbering more than 8 Ganges sands had arrived from the other lands. In the midst of the great assembly, they arose with their palms pressed, greeted the Buddha by bowing in obeisance, and said, O Bhagavat! If you could give us the permission to diligently uphold, read, recite, copy, and give offerings to the Lotus Sutra in the Saha world after the parinirvana of the Buddha, we will expound it widely throughout this land. The Buddha replied to Bodhisattvas Mahasattvas, Enough, O virtuous men! There is no need for you to uphold and protect this sutra. Why is this so? Because in this Saha world of mine, there are Bodhisattvas Mahasattvas as numerous as 60,000 Ganges sands. Each of these bodhisattvas has a retinue as numerous as 60,000 Ganges sands. After my parinirvana, they will be able to uphold, read, recite, and widely expound the Lotus Sutra. While the Buddha was speaking, the earth of trichiliacosm of the Saha world quaked and split open. Immeasurable thousands of millions of billions of bodhisattvas mahasattvas emerged from the earth simultaneously. All the bodhisattvas had golden bodies, endowed with 32 features, and radiated immeasurable lights of brilliance. Previously, they had been living in the world of the empty space beneath the Saha world. Upon hearing the voice of Shakyamuni Buddha, these bodhisattvas appeared from below. Each of these bodhisattvas was a leader of their own great retinue as numerous as 60,000 Ganges sands. Not to mention some of those who led a retinue as numerous as 50,000, 40,000, 30,000, 20,000, or 10,000 Ganges sands. Moreover, some of those had a retinue as little as 1 Ganges sands, half a Ganges sand, a quarter of a Ganges sand, or down to a fraction of thousands of millions of billions of nayuta of Ganges sands. Again, some led a retinue of about thousands of millions of billions of nayuta, hundreds of millions, or just 10 million, 1 million, or 10,000. Again, there were some who led just 1,000, 100, or 10 of them. Some only brought with them 5, 4, 3, 2, or 1 disciple. Some came alone as they preferred to carry out solitary practices. Such were the numbers, immeasurably boundless, beyond the expression of mathematical calculations, parables, metaphors, or similes. Each of the bodhisattvas who emerged from the earth proceeded to a wonderful 7-jeweled pagoda suspended in the air, a place where abundant treasures Tathagata and Shakyamuni Buddha were seated. Upon reaching it, they turned to the 2 Bhagavats and greeted them by performing a full prostration. They also bowed to all the Buddhas seated on the lion thrones beneath the jeweled trees. Subsequently, they circled clockwise around them 3 times with their palms pressed respectfully. Having given praises using various bodhisattva chants, they withdrew to one side and gazed upon the 2 Bhagavats joyfully. A period of 50 small kalpas had passed, from the time these bodhisattvas mahasattvas had emerged from the earth to the time they had given praises to the Buddhas using the various bodhisattva chants. All the while, Shakyamuni Buddha sat in silence, so too were the 4 groups of people. 50 small kalpas had passed and yet, owing to the divine powers of the Buddha, it seemed to the great assembly that only half a day had elapsed. Meanwhile, through the divine powers of the Buddha, the four groups saw the bodhisattvas filling the empty space of immeasurable hundreds of thousands of millions of billions of lands. Among these bodhisattvas were the four leaders. The first leader was called Superior Actions, the second leader was called Boundless Actions, the third leader was called Pure Actions, and the fourth leader was called Steadfast Actions. These four bodhisattvas were the foremost teachers and leaders among the assembly. Facing the great assembly, each of the four bodhisattvas pressed their palms together, gazed at Shakyamuni Buddha, and inquired, "O Bhagavath, how is your health? Are you at ease with minimal ailments and worries? How is your preaching? Is it peaceful and joyful? Are living beings receptive to your teaching? Do they cause weariness to the Bhagavath?" Thereupon, the four bodhisattvas spoke in stanzas. O Bhagavath, may you dwell in peace and bliss. May you have few ailments and few worries. May you teach and transform all living beings with no fatigue. Are living beings accepting your teaching with readiness? Are they not troubling the Bhagavath with weariness? Thereafter, the Bhagavath addressed the great assembly of bodhisattvas, saying, "Yes, indeed, indeed, O virtuous men. Tathagata is at ease, with few ailments and apprehension. Living beings are readily transformed and saved, there are no worries and weariness for me. Why is this so? Because all these living beings, generation after generation, have always been transformed by me through my teachings. They have given respect and reverence to the former Buddhas, hence cultivating various roots of virtue and benevolence. Having seen me for the first time and hearing my teachings, all these living beings have immediately taken faith and accepted the wisdom of Tathagata, except those who had previously practiced the lesser vehicle. Nonetheless, I have led even these people in hearing the Lotus Sutra and entering the Buddha wisdom." Thereupon, the great bodhisattvas spoke in stanzas. Splendid! Splendid! O Bhagavath, the great hero! All living beings are readily being transformed, capable of asking Buddhas the profound wisdom they believe and practice upon hearing the teachings. We extend our heartiest congratulations to you. Following this, the Bhagavath praised the leaders of bodhisattvas, saying, "Excellent, excellent. O virtuous men! You are capable of giving joyous congratulations to Tathagata." Meanwhile, Bodhisattva Maitreya and the rest of the other bodhisattvas who were as numerous as 8,000 Ganges' sands, reflected, "Since the remote past, we have never seen or heard about the great number of bodhisattvas mahasattvas emerging from the earth. They are standing in front of Tathagata with their pressed palms, giving offerings and inquiring about Tathagata." Then Bodhisattva Maitreya, resolving to clear his doubts and knowing the minds of bodhisattvas as numerous as 8,000 Ganges' sands, pressed his palms and asked the Buddha in stanzas. "We have never witnessed immeasurable thousands of millions of billions of bodhisattvas in the great assembly before. O great man of honor! We entreat you to explain for us. From where do they come? For what reasons do they congregate? They have gigantic bodies, great divine powers, and inconceivable wisdom. They have strong will and determination, great patience and endurance. Their pleasant disposition is a delightful sight for all living beings. From where do they come? Each of these bodhisattvas is accompanied by a retinue. The number in the retinue is as immeasurable as the sands of the Ganges River. There are also great bodhisattvas who lead teams as numerous as 60,000 Ganges' sands. The multitudes in the great assembly seek the Buddha way wholeheartedly. The great teachers, as numerous as 60,000 Ganges' sands, have all arrived to give offerings to the Buddha and to uphold and embrace the Lotus Sutra. There are teachers with even more followers, whose number is equal to 50,000 Ganges' sands, or 40,000, 30,000, 20,000, or 10,000. Or 1,100. Down to only one Ganges' sand. Half, 1/3, or 1/4. Or even 1/fraction of the millions of billions. 10 million Nayuta. Billions of disciples. Or even half of 100 million still. These leaders are still more numerous than the above number. The numbers are even more than the above mentioned. 1,000,000 or 10,000. 1,000 or 100. 50 or 10. Or even 3, 2, and 1. Those who are alone with no retinue. Because they enjoy being in solitude. Have all arrived at the Buddha's abode. Even if one were to calculate. For kalpas as numerous as the Ganges' sands. One is still unable to fathom. The great number of multitudes. Who has expounded the Dharma. And successfully transformed. The multitude of ever-advancing bodhisattvas. Who are endowed with great majestic virtues. Who has inspired them. To conceive the aspiration of enlightenment. Which Buddhist doctrines have they practiced? Which Buddha way have they followed? These bodhisattvas possess divine powers and great strength of wisdom. The grounds in the four directions tremble and split open. They emerge from the earth. O Bhagavath! Since the remote past, I have never seen such an event. We entreat you to enlighten us. The names of the lands from which they arrive. I have traveled to many lands. And yet, never have I seen so many of them. Among the assembly, I have known not a single one of them. We entreat you to explain the causes and conditions. About their sudden emergence from the earth. Today, in the midst of the great assembly. Immeasurable hundreds of thousands of billions of bodhisattvas. Look forward to understanding this matter. There must be reasons, causes, and conditions. For the congregation of bodhisattvas. O Bhagavath! The one of immeasurable virtues. We entreat you to resolve all our doubts. I have known not a single one of them. Summary Overview, Chapter 15, Emerging from the Earth, Section 2, Paragraphs 1 to 16. Shakyamuni Buddha reveals that since his attainment of Buddhahood in the remote past, he has transformed millions and billions of living beings who had been dwelling beneath the Saha world. Delighted in solitary meditation, these living beings had been practicing the Buddha wisdom for innumerable kalpas. Having conceived the will for the way, they were certain to attain Buddhahood. Key messages. The Buddha has indirectly revealed his eternal lifespan through the revelation of his attainment of Buddhahood in the remote past. Meanwhile, the emanated Buddhas of Shakyamuni Buddha coming from innumerable thousands of millions of billions of other lands sat cross-legged on the lion thrones beneath the jeweled trees in the 8 directions. All the attendants of these Buddhas had witnessed the multitude of bodhisattvas dwelling in the empty space emerging from the earth of trichiliacosm everywhere in the 4 directions. Each asked their respective Buddhas, O Bhagavath! Where do the immeasurably boundless asamkhya of great multitude of bodhisattvas come from? Thereafter, all the Buddhas replied to their attendants, O virtuous men! Wait a moment. A bodhisattva mahasattva named Maitreya, who has been predicted by Shakyamuni Buddha to be the next Buddha in line, has already asked about this matter. The Buddha will give him a reply soon and you will be able to hear the answer yourselves. At that moment, Shakyamuni Buddha replied to Bodhisattva Maitreya, Excellent, excellent. O Ajita! You are capable of asking the Buddha a matter of paramount importance. All of you should focus your minds, don the armor of diligence, and conceive a firm determination. This is because Tathagata is going to reveal and proclaim the Buddha wisdom, the effortless divine powers of Buddhas, the power of lion-like diligence of Buddhas, the power of great majestic forces of Buddhas. Thereupon, the Bhagavath, wishing to reiterate his meaning, proclaimed in stanzas. Have a focused and diligent mind. For I am going to explain the matter. Have no doubts or regrets. For the Buddha wisdom is inconceivable. O disciples! Embrace the power of faith now. steadfast in patience and benevolence. For all of you are about to hear the unprecedented Dharma now. O disciples! Put your mind at ease now. Have no doubt or fear. For the Buddha has only words of truth. And his wisdom is beyond measure. The foremost Dharma attained by the Buddha is profound and beyond analysis. O disciples! Focus single-mindedly and listen attentively. For I am going to expound the Dharma now. At that moment, having spoken the stanzas, the Bhagavath replied to Bodhisattva Maitreya, "Now, I am going to proclaim to all you in this great assembly. O Ajita! Those immeasurably boundless asamkhya of bodhisattvas mahasattvas emerging from the earth, whom you have not seen before, have been taught and transformed by me to aspire for the way ever since I attained supreme perfect enlightenment in this Saha world. Dwelling in the empty space beneath the Saha world, these bodhisattvas read, recite, and master the sutras by pondering, analyzing, meditating, and memorizing them correctly. O Ajita! These virtuous men have no delights in expounding the Dharma in the midst of the assembly. They enjoy being in solitude and advance the way diligently without respite. Not attaching to existence in the form of heavenly gods or humans, they always take pleasure in the profound wisdom with no hindrance. Always rejoicing in various Buddha dharmas, they seek to advance the unsurpassed wisdom single-mindedly. Thereupon, the Bhagavath, wishing to reiterate his meaning, proclaimed in stanzas. O Ajita! You should know that the great bodhisattvas have been practicing the Buddha wisdom for innumerable kalpas. They have all been transformed by me, awakening in them the will for the great way. They are my children, who are dwelling in this world, always practicing the ascetic actions. They enjoy living in quiet seclusion, away from riotous pandemonium. They have little delight in lengthy discussion. My children have always been learning my teachings. They advance conscientiously day and night, for the sake of seeking the Buddha way, dwelling in the empty space beneath the Saha world. They are firm in determination, earnestly seeking the wisdom, with hearts of valiance. They preach the magnificent Dharma in profusion. In the city of Gaya, I sat beneath the Bodhi tree and attained supreme perfect enlightenment. Turning the unsurpassed Dharma wheel, I transformed and inspired my disciples to conceive a will for the way. Now, all of them are certain to become Buddhas. Now, I shall reveal the truth. Have faith and believe in me wholeheartedly. Since the remote past, I have been teaching and transforming all living beings. Summary Overview, Chapter 15, Emerging from the Earth, Section 3, Paragraphs 1 to 18. Bodhisattva Maitreya as well as the assembly of bodhisattvas are confounded, wondering how it was possible for the Buddha to transform billions of bodhisattvas since his attainment of Buddhahood 40 years ago near the city of Gaya. He illustrates the paradox by saying the situation is like that of the 25-year-old young man who claimed the white-haired centenarian to be his son, while the old man, in turn, confirmed the claim. Hence, it was incredibly difficult for him to believe. He subsequently entreats the Buddha to explain further by speaking in poetic stanzas. Meanwhile, doubt and confusion arose in the hearts of Bodhisattva Mahasattva Maitreya and the innumerable bodhisattvas. Marveling at this unprecedented event, they reflected as such, how could it be possible for the Bhagavath to teach, transform, and lead an immeasurably boundless asamkhya of great bodhisattvas to attain supreme perfect enlightenment within such a short period of time? Immediately, they sought clarification from the Buddha, O Bhagavath. During the time when the Tathagata was still a crown prince, you left the Sakya's palaces to arrive at the city of Gaya. Seated at the sanctuary of the way, you attained supreme perfect enlightenment. From then onward until now, only 40 years have passed. O Bhagavath! Within such a short period of time, how could you, through the power, influence, merits, and virtues of a Buddha, accomplished the great Buddha work of transforming immeasurable bodhisattvas, leading them to attain supreme perfect enlightenment. O Bhagavath! Even if one were to calculate the great multitude of bodhisattvas for thousands of millions of billions of kalpas, one would not be able to come to an end. It must have been a remotely distant past for them to cultivate virtuous roots in immeasurably boundless Buddha's abodes to accomplish the bodhisattva way by consistently carrying out pure Brahma practices. O Bhagavath! A matter such as this is really difficult for the entire world to believe. It is just like the 25-year-old man with fine complexion and ebony black hair, who pointed at the centenarian and claimed as such, "He is my son." Similarly, the centenarian also pointed to the youth, confirming the claim by saying, "He is my father who raised me." This is unimaginably difficult to believe. What the Buddha has expounded is exactly like this. It has not been long since the Buddha attained the way. Nevertheless, the great multitude of bodhisattvas have been diligently advancing the Buddha way for immeasurable thousands of millions of billions of kalpas. They are capable of entering into immeasurable hundreds of thousands of millions of billions of samadhi meditation, hence obtaining great divine powers. As a result of carrying out pure Brahma practices, they are also skillful in systematically learning a plethora of virtuous ways and handling questions and answers competently. All in all, they are the jewels of humans who are exceptionally rare in all the worlds. Today, you, the Bhagavath, mentioned that you had just started to teach, transform, show, and guide them in the aspiration of attaining supreme perfect enlightenment since your attainment of the Buddha way. However, the Bhagavath attained Buddhahood not long ago, and yet you have accomplished such great merits. We do believe that the Buddha teaches according to the capacity of each individual, that the Buddha will speak nothing but the truth, and that the Buddha's knowledge is broad and expansive. However, if novice bodhisattvas were to hear this after the parinirvana of the Buddha, they may not believe and accept the words, thereby committing the negative karma of destroying the Dharma. O Bhagavath! We therefore entreat you to explain and expel our doubts. In this way, all virtuous men in the future will not be doubtful upon hearing this matter. Thereupon, Bodhisattva Maitreya, wishing to reiterate his meaning, proclaimed in stanzas. The former Buddha from the clan of Sakya left his home near the city of Gaya. It has not been long since he achieved enlightenment under the Bodhi tree. Children of the Buddha are immeasurable. They have already been practicing the Buddha way and abiding in the divine powers. Skillful in learning the Bodhisattva way, they are untainted by worldly matters. Just like the lotus flowers in the muddy water, they emerge from the earth, standing in front of the Buddha. With respectful hearts, they wondered. This is indeed extraordinary. How could we possibly believe this? It has been recent since the enlightenment of the Buddha. Yet he is able to accomplish so much. To eliminate our doubts, we entreat you to unravel the truth. This is like a young man who is 25 years old, pointing at the centenarian, with white hair and a wrinkled face, exclaiming, "He is my child." The son in turn confirms, saying, "He is my father." The father is young and yet the child is old. This is absurdly unbelievable in the entire world. The same applies to the Bhagavath. He recently attained the way. And yet there are so many bodhisattvas who are courageously firm in aspiration and have been practicing the bodhisattva way for immeasurable kalpas, competent in handling questions. They are fearless, patient and resolute. They are upright, dignified, and virtuous. They have been praised by the Buddhas in the 10 directions for their excellent skills in differentiated explanation. Instead of taking delight among the humans, they enjoy engaging in meditation. For the sake of the Buddha way, they dwell in the empty space below. All of us have no doubt in hearing this from the Buddha. For the sake of the future, we entreat the Buddha to enlighten us by unraveling this matter. Because if there are people who do not believe in the Lotus Sutra. They will immediately fall into the evil paths. Hence, we entreat you to explain to us now, within a short span of time, how is it possible for you to teach, transform, and lead the immeasurable bodhisattvas to aspire for the way, enabling them to abide in the stage of non-regression,